Hello, everyone, and welcome to Holistic Connections, Conversations with Holistic Practitioners. Today we have Jennifer, and I'm so excited for this. I can't wait to learn more, and you will want to too. So, if you could introduce yourself and share what you do in the holistic healing world, please.
Sure. Thanks, Pamela. My name is Jennifer Stanier, and I am the sole practitioner in my business called Pathways Wholistic Clinic. And what I do, I'm a natural health practitioner, and what I do is I remove obstacles to health. And those could be obstacles from diet and lifestyle habits through to unresolved, we'll call them life events, otherwise known as shocks and traumas that we all have in this life. And my main modality is something called Heilkunst, which is Neil Hahnemann's, it was his word for his complete medical system, which includes homeopathy, but includes other things like I mentioned, diet and lifestyle as well.
I tried looking it up. I had never heard of it. And what I could find as far as like a definition was the art of making whole. And I
Yes.
thought that was really nice, a nice definition. And it kind of says it all, right? So it's very similar to what holistic healing is all about, is the art of making whole. And you mentioned, diet and exercise, and then also past possible traumas and shocks to the system and things we've gone through in our lives. So, there's the definition of holistic right there too. So I love that. I love learning something on here. And if you could talk a little bit more about that and what first got you interested and where you first learned about it.
Sure. So I lost my health about 25 years ago, and it was a pretty dramatic and pretty dramatic and pretty sudden. And you could put it all under the collective term of chronic fatigue. I now know there was multiple factors that were working towards that being expressed as chronic
Sure.
fatigue. So, and I did like most people, I went to Western medicine
Mhm.
and they would run blood tests and all sorts of diagnostics, and no matter who I saw, I kept coming back with the same results as, you're all within range, all your results are within range. And one day I asked, well, then why do I feel every morning when I get up like I've been hit by a truck? And they didn't have any answers for me. And I now understand. I was very angry for a long time because they couldn't help me, but I now understand they just work in the physical body. I had to learn the hard way that what was contributing to my chronic fatigue was actually, I don't think anything had to do with the physical body. It was all mental, emotional,
Mm.
and unresolved life events that needed to be processed.
Yeah.
So, anyways, after that, I tried some natural and alternative practitioners. They couldn't really help me either. And then one day a friend talked to me, just mentioned homeopathy. I'm like, that's something I haven't tried yet. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty desperate at this point. One, you spend a lot of money, and two, you feel like you're running out of options, because I guess you are in a way.
Yeah.
And then I started researching that, and I found the college in Ottawa, Canada. I eventually took their training, their Heilkunst training. But I found a local practitioner, started seeing him, and I knew after the first appointment that, at least for me, I was on the right path, and this is what
Yeah.
was going to get me better. And within 6 months, actually, I was able to leave a job that was a significant source of stress for me, which I couldn't have done prior to that. I
Yeah.
just didn't have the energy. So then I ended up studying this because I was like, wow, this is really cool and
A
powerful.
lot of
And
people that are in the same boat that you were in that have exhausted their options as far as they know and can't find what's going on with them, and they're having all these issues. I know people who are going through that. Just
for
one test
sure,
after another, different doctors. Yeah.
right. What I needed to do, and I think a lot of people are probably in the same boat, is we need to expand our thinking beyond just
Yeah.
the physical. Even
Right.
though everything is expressing in the physical body, it's where all our stuff eventually shows up.
Yeah.
And it's what causes us discomfort. It's
Yeah.
actually, more often than not, it's not where treatment should be administered. So I've learned that. That's been demonstrated to me multiple times.
So when someone comes to you with an issue and they don't understand what's going on with them, what's the first contact like with them? And I don't know if you start out with, is it in groups? Is it one-on-one? Is it in person? How do you first start out with a new client or? or somebody that's
Yeah,
seeking help. Yeah.
right. I offer both one-on-one
Mm.
treatment and coursework as well that is
Mm.
more suitable to, it's just more efficient to deliver in a group setting rather
Mm-hmm.
than one-on-one. Depending on, I guess, where a person's at, if they're really, if they are in a similar situation as I described myself
Yeah.
a few minutes ago, then probably one-on-one is the place to start, because what the person most likely needs at that point is to start clearing space within themselves, because
Yeah.
they've got this accumulation of life events that their pack is full. And as you might imagine, when your pack is full, you can't do much. Life becomes difficult. And this might show up as depression or low energy. In my case, certainly it showed up as fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
any number of things, just less enjoyment in life. And those are all, they tend to be signs that our pack is full and
Yeah.
we need to start removing the rocks from the pack. But you need a way, a method to do that, because they don't just come out on their own. You don't just
Yeah.
remove the rocks on their own with
There's always
time.
more in the background. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also, it's not just like positive thinking either, or affirmations. Not to say those can't be helpful,
Right, but
but
along with other things. A lot of times when we're looking for healing within ourselves, it's a complementary, things will work well together. And what works for one person may not work for the next person. And this combination may be good for your friend, but not good for you. And yeah, yeah, everybody's an individual with all of that for
oh,
sure.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So one-on-one, and then there's some courses that I'm putting together to start offering. It just makes it more efficient. I found with seeing clients is most people need work on their diet and lifestyle.
Mm,
They're in various ways. One of the ways is that because we are each unique, we just because one diet works for one person doesn't mean it works for the
yeah.
next person. So I was finding, well, wow, we're spending a lot of time in our one-on-one consult time talking about diet and lifestyle. And I thought, I'm just going to put together a course so
Yeah.
that, because it makes better use of our time together. We
Sure.
can do other things. So that's how I kind of offer my services. And then depending on what someone's been through in their life, it's not suitable to be discussing those things in a group setting. So you need the one-on-one kind of support, confidentiality around that.
And are
Yeah.
you working with people online or in person
Yes,
or both?
pretty much all online at this
Okay.
point. It seems to be working well for people.
Sometimes people are a lot more open and comfortable when they're in the comfort of their own home. If they come to an office, some people like that better, like to be like in person in an office or a clinic or something. But other people really like the comfort and the almost feeling of safety around being in their own space. They might be able to open up better or feel more relaxed to be able to accept what you're offering through the internet, through the
Right. And
computer.
the other
Yeah.
thing I would add to that is sometimes people, and I was in this boat as well, it's a considerable effort to get up and leave your home
Right,
and
right.
drive somewhere. And not everyone is up for that.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about that with the people that you're working with. A lot of people really have a difficult time having to get up and actually go through all the motions to get someplace. And that's
Right.
a real deterrent in finding the help that they need. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a great point there for sure. So you're in Canada. I am
Mhm.
in the US. So do you work with people all over? Or is it mainly in your area? Even though it's online, are you able to work with people all over the place?
Pretty much, yeah, North
Anywhere?
America. Like typically it's
Yeah.
Canada and US
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah. So we will put your website is pathwaysclinic.ca since you're in Canada. And we'll
Mhm.
put that link in the description below as well as your Facebook and Instagram. But so are the courses something new that you're working on, or what else do you have that you're working on coming up in the horizon?
Yeah, the courses are new. There's nothing on the website right now. They're just,
Okay.
I'm still working on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned, the diet and lifestyle
Yeah.
aspects of our lives, that they're important contributors to health. They're just not the only thing that
Right.
contributes to our health. So yeah, working on those. And then I'm also working on putting together some instructional videos on just trying to clear space. Like I mentioned,
Yeah.
I can do that with the remedies, but the homeopathic remedies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's important to do, but that requires the one-on-one
Yeah.
treatment. So to offer a bit more in kind of the group setting, I'm working on some instructional videos just to
Nice.
start clearing up space. Because if you've
Sure.
never, it's like if you've lived your whole life and you just keep piling more stuff in the basement, eventually you have to start clearing that basement out.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to teach with that. And even if
Yeah.
people can just get a sense as to what it feels like, I'm like, oh, okay, I've cleared a few emotions. I feel a bit lighter. I feel a bit like
Yeah.
there's more space in there to maybe
Yeah.
engage with life. And that's exactly the direction you want to move in.
Yeah. Nice. So once they start to feel a little bit from that, then they can keep moving forward. Yes. Is
Exactly.
this going to be on YouTube or are they going to be the videos that you're doing, or do you know
A
yet?
great question. I don't know yet.
Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I know that once that is up, you will have it on your website. So that link will be
Yeah,
below as well. So you mentioned the remedies, and is that with the homeopathy? Are they homeopathy remedies or energy work? So can you talk a little bit about that for people who might not understand what that's about?
sure. So, yes, I work with homeopathic remedies,
Yeah.
and homeopathy, it just means like it's literally translated as similar suffering.
Yeah.
And what that means is we prescribe them on the basis of the law of similars.
Hmm.
And that's different, as you might imagine, from the law of opposites. So that's really the biggest distinction, I would say, between homeopathy, Heilkunst, I kind of use those words interchangeably, and other modalities in the
Hmm.
natural and alternative space is within Heilkunst, we recognize that there is the proper use of the law of opposites for diet and lifestyle, and there's the proper use of the law of similars, and that's for basically removing the effects of life events like shocks and traumas. The remedies themselves, I make them up in my clinic, and because they're very unique, they're customized to the
Hmm.
individual based on what they've been through, based on what they're dealing with right
Yeah.
now. And yeah, I guess for the remedies, if people aren't that familiar with them, they're probably 80% are made from plants. And then some are made from like animal products like squid ink, for example, things like that. And just because they're not in crude form, meaning there's no like they work very different than drugs, say. They're meant to have a very strong physiological effect on the body. The remedies are working at the, you could say at the energetic level.
Yeah.
And it's getting behind like why you even have like why you have this unprocessed life event in the first place.
Yeah. So
Um,
amazing. So amazing.
it,
I was looking into homeopathic remedies long ago and kind of really dove deep into it for a little while. I had my daughter at home and I was really looking into all these natural things with raising her and during my pregnancy and everything else. And so all of those are, for the most part, safe for pregnant women. And I think that aren't they very, very minute strengths? It's not like a large amount of, like you said, like a Western medicine drug. It's very different than that. It works differently. And like you said, almost at the energetic level, right? That's just amazing. So, do you ever come across people that have misconceptions or ask you questions that you're just surprised at when it comes to either the homeopathic remedies or any energy work or the Heilkunst, if I said that correctly? Do you have any people that come to you with complete misconceptions about it all?
well, some people just don't believe in homeopathy. And I can understand why, because we're so grounded in this physical world. And if it doesn't work on the basis of, if you're trying to regain your health and what you're being given doesn't work at the level of the physical body, that can be a challenge for people to understand how
Yeah.
that really works. And I'll admit, I was the same way back. I was like, what? Those little white pills, they can do something?
Yeah, the remedies.
I quickly found out just how powerful they are.
Right, right.
So yeah, things like that. But even beyond that, the biggest thing I think for people that people struggle with and I was no different back in the day when I was struggling with my health, is the need to go beyond the physical. And I
Right.
think it's very easy to underestimate the impact that unresolved emotional events have on us and continue to have on us. And
Yeah.
I mean, beliefs are in there too. Those can affect us, but I think it's very easy to just you have an emotionally upsetting event, and then maybe you stew about it for a couple of days or whatever, and then you don't totally forget about it, but it's less intense. And then you kind of think, well, okay, I'm done with that, and now I'm just back to myself. Well, it's actually not how it works, because
Right.
those each one of those events, it keeps piling on top of one another, and they accumulate. And like I used the analogy of the pack full of rocks earlier, and that's what happened. That's what happens. And then for
Yeah.
me, like, yeah, my pack was full. And then once it's full, my health just went downhill very quickly and very dramatically.
You
You
just
said,
couldn't
yeah,
carry all that anymore, to use that analogy. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Weighing you down.
right. So I think that's probably the biggest misconception, is this idea that emotional events, they just happen and we pick ourselves up and carry on. And that's true. Life does go on.
Yeah, we
But
have to, right?
right, right. But that's not to say that it's not still impacting you and
Right.
contributing to your load.
You can't just ignore it. Eventually, you have to keep going, but eventually it'll weigh you down so much as you can't. Like we were saying earlier, some people are so fatigued and so run down by whatever is going on within them that they can't go on. And it's at that point that they start looking for some help sometimes rather than when it first impacts them.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it sort of takes root a little more. Yeah. So I'm so glad there's people like you out there doing what you're doing. It's so needed. So, is there anything else that you'd like to share or to make sure that people know before we go? There's a lot of information on her website, and we're definitely going to put that in the description below. So, make sure that you look through that if this interests you at all. So, anything else that you'd like to share?
I guess for anyone who's feeling desperate and like they're losing hope that they can ever regain their health, there are a tremendous number of options out there.
Yeah.
And like you had said earlier, it does depend on where the person's at and what is most beneficial for them at that point. But there are a lot of options out there, and some of them go beyond the physical body. And I think it's really important to recognize that even though our physical body is what hurts, it's not really where the problem lies.
Yeah.
So, and I would just say to those people, just start exploring and see what resonates with you, see what feels good, and be like, oh, yeah, maybe I should give that a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so important to know all your options to make informed decisions. And that's what Holistic Connections is all about, to help people to make better informed decisions about their own mind, body, and soul, overall well-being and health. So yeah, thank you so much for being on and sharing. We can't possibly go through all of it in here, but like I said, look at her website. There's a lot of information on there. It's a beautiful website too, by the way.
Okay.
So where's the best place for people to reach you? To go through your website or to go through one of your social media accounts? What's the best way for people to reach you?
Oh, probably Facebook.
Probably Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll have that below as well. So I know that I've learned today, and I know that anybody listening and viewing this will also learn from this today. So again, I want to thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Pamela.
You're so welcome.